Hello and welcome to our latest Bundesliga Watchalong, which is obviously the relegation playoff first leg tonight between VfB Stuttgart and Hamburg SV. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, for those of you that don't know how this works, obviously it's third from bottom of the top league, the first Bundesliga, which is obviously VfB Stuttgart, and third top in the Zweiten Bundesliga, obviously the second league, which is obviously Hamburg. So yeah, it's going to be a two-legged match. The first leg is tonight, and the second leg is on Monday night in Hamburg. So yeah, really looking forward to this double header, Peter. What are your first thoughts? And you can see the teams on your screen there. Just as kickoff is 2 to 3 minutes away. What's your thought then?
Well, I wonder why Königsdorfer didn't start for the HSV. I thought that he was usually part of that triplicate striking axis, but it appears we have Bakary Yatta in there instead. Also not a bad player, scored 4 goals in the Zweite Bundesliga campaign for Der Dino. And no real surprises from Stuttgart. Sebastian Hoeness is going with what he believes to be his best 11. We have Enzo Milo rather than Chris Führich in support, also rather than Thiago Tomas for that matter, or maybe even Silas. But yeah, well, it's a beautiful night here in the Bundesrepublik. I'm very, very pleased to be back in my country. Very, very pleased to be joining you for what I hope should be an entertaining match. The fans and the Cannstatter Kurve there at the Mercedes-Benz Arena most certainly deserve it. And hopefully we can deliver some entertainment this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. Ballon, just a question from Ballon. No Rory today. No, he's watching the game back at home. So yeah, I think obviously it's just going to be me and Peter guiding you through tonight. I think it was a little bit too much for Rory's heart to take this one tonight, but he might be with us for the Monday night one in Hamburg. So we'll see on that one. Yeah, Gallup says, big comment there. Gurasi doesn't want to be there. Oh, I'm not sure about that one. He's just signed a contract on a permanent. Obviously, it was only on loan initially. I think just yesterday he actually signed permanently. So I think he does want to be there, but it's obviously a big game because he definitely wants to be playing in the Bundesliga, doesn't he? He doesn't want to be playing in the second league next year, having made a €9 million move yesterday to Stuttgart. So yeah, Yatta will be a real player to watch. Rory will be crying today. Oh, that's a big comment. Yeah. yeah, we'll have to see. Me and Rory are confident, but obviously if you watch the show on Monday, I think Peter's confident that Hamburg will get the job done, aren't you?
I decided to go with a HSV tip based on the fact that we've not had a second-tier side win a relegation playoff since Stuttgart actually lost to FC Union Berlin. That was at the end of the 2018-2019 campaign. I might have said the wrong year on Monday. So I did go ahead and tip the HSV to do it in their second consecutive year in the relegation playoffs. They've been trying to get back to the Bundesliga for 5 years now, since becoming the historic last ever Bundesliga side to get relegated. And this is also the 40th anniversary of the famed HSV team that won the Bundesliga title in 1983. I brought this prop along especially to commemorate that anniversary. So it's a very, very special year for the HSV. I believe on paper Stuttgart are the favorites, and most Germans, if you look at the polling, the tip polling, they're picking Stuttgart 60-40 split. So it's quite possible that I'll be wrong. Don't mind being wrong in the world of sports prognostication, I should say. Everybody wants to be proven wrong. But yeah, that was my tip, much to Rory's chagrin. Rory was not happy about that.
Yeah. But I still think if you look at the 11s, I mean, you'd still much rather this Stuttgart side, just as we're about to kick off. Have you kicked off yet on there?
Yeah, I'm 16 seconds in.
Okay, yeah. You're a little bit ahead of me then. I think you're about 10 or 15 seconds ahead of me. So yeah, just keep us up to date. You'll probably take us through most of it today, and we'll just kind of keep the commentary going. But yeah, if you look at this side, I think, I mean, it's pretty clear that the Stuttgart side is a lot stronger for me. Would you agree with that, Peter?
Sure, with Borna Sosa starting, also the former HSV player, Wagnermann, on the other wing back. As a matter of fact, Stuttgart have scored the opening goal off of a corner.
Oh,
So, their first corner of the match, we're not even 1 minute through. It was Kostas
wow.
Mavropanos, who polished off the corner service there. I don't. Was it Endo or who delivered the service, or Ito? I didn't quite catch that.
What a
But
header that is, though. That's a classic Mavropanos moment. That is, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. Well, there is quality in this Stuttgart squad, and I'm sure that Sebastian Hoeness has reminded him that. That was an excellent glancing header from Mavropanos. Sosa on the delivery. Don't know what was going on with the marking there. No one seemed to pick the big Greek up, which is something that you have to do. Perhaps they were a little bit more focused on Guirassy, who was rising in the air, looking to contest the header as well. But you might as well put Rory up there.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah. What a
Rory,
header that is, though. Yeah, that's a
absolutely.
beauty. That one is. Yeah. That's, yeah. Regretfully, but what a start. Yeah. Rory seems happy anyway. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It was a classic Mavropanos header. You know, we always talk about him as a man, the kind of man for the big day, don't we? And this was so far it started in the same vein. But yeah, HSV now they're going to be so worried, aren't they, Peter? I mean, how can they retaliate to this? Because you know they are coming in as second favourites, really. The crowd looks amazing there as well. Like, everyone kind of got the white shirts on by the look of it of VfB Stuttgart. There's a good crowd as well up from Hamburg. But I mean, what can their players do now, Peter, to get themselves sorted in this match?
Do the opposite of what Dortmund did over the weekend. That would be, namely, focus on the fact that you still have a full match to play. In the case of Dortmund, I think we saw some disappointing body language from the likes of Emre Can as I was watching the replay there today here in the Bundesrepublik, trying to figure out what went wrong. When they conceded that second goal in the big match against Mainz, the loss against Mainz that cost them the title, you know, you still had 60 minutes to play, and you didn't see that from Dortmund. So just stay calm. That there are much more. There is an entire football match left to be played here. No sense in taking any major risks just yet out of the back. It looks like Stuttgart are employing a pretty ambitious and intrepid press from the looks of it, almost as if they're in a 4-3-3 off the ball, from what I can tell. So, yes, there's a lot of football left to be played, and Stuttgart have taught us many times this season that they are capable of scoring a goal and capable of then failing to show up to play for the duration of the match. Looks like we have someone watching the Spanish telecast. I bet that's a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, in the States, you can watch all of the Bundesliga games in Spanish as well. I sometimes do, just for the variety when I'm over there. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably in the States. Probably your friend of the show, Derek Ray, on the call. That's the only thing that I would miss out on, not being in the States.
Yeah, definitely. It must seem a little bit strange for you watching a game back in the Bundesrepublik, because how long has it been, Peter? It must have been 6 months or so, right?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, you and I were actually we did our first podcast of the new calendar year while I was still here in Germany, in Karlsruhe, which was late January, just before I went back to the States. So it's obviously good to be home. Beautiful day today. Walked to the kiosk and bought my print edition of Kicker and Sport Bild and everything, and just absolutely. It was an elating day. Just a beautiful day to walk around. Also, you know, when you walk around a city in Germany, particularly a big football city like here in Karlsruhe, you walk around to see what stickers the ultras have been putting up on lampposts and places around the park and everything. And the KSC fans were putting up some stickers expressing their empathy and solidarity with Hertha after their relegation. There was looks like Mark, you okay there?
Yeah, I was just turning the lights on. Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would realize it was going dark. I didn't want it to look like some kind of Yeah, like a blackout or something, you know.
So there's a little bit of there's a Freundschaftsbeziehung between the two ultra groups, and there were a lot of supportive stickers for Hertha around Karlsruhe in the parks and in the cages and on the lampposts today that I witnessed.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I mean, with Schalke and Hertha, we have two tradition-rich clubs who have been relegated. By no means the first time that's happened. It just happened 2 years ago when Schalke and Bremen were both relegated in the same year. But yeah, it might be the case that we have another one heading down in the form of Stuttgart, although the start would indicate otherwise, I think.
Yeah, I've not seen much in this Hamburg side that made me worry, to be honest, yet for the VfB. Obviously, I am a watcher of the second league as well, and in my opinion, there is quite a big gap in quality, in truth, between the first and the second leagues in Germany. Like, the second league is amazing to watch. Like, it's an amazing league, but the quality isn't on the same level, in my opinion. That was one of the main reasons why I tipped obviously Stuttgart to win this tie. And from what I've seen so far, HSV, as they're known often in German, HSV, they're not really creating very much at all. They're struggling to get through the Stuttgart press, to be honest. Stuttgart are pressing very hard. They look fired up for this. And yeah, they are struggling.
We do have a promising run there from, I believe that was Dompe layoff, and now that is a poor finish from Rice. Yes. Very poor finish from Rice. Interesting beard that Tim Walter is sporting there. I think he's trying to do the the Grizzly Adams thing. But yes, Rice just flashed over after what was something of a promising tack.
It was.
Dompe and Glatzel, I think, dropped back with a nice ball hold up, shuffled out there to Rice, maybe missing Yatta. Now I looked it up. Yatta was actually Yatta is the preferred starter. Königsdorfer was just in there because Yatta was suspended last week. I wish I, as a top division reporter and columnist, I do wish I had more time to watch the second division. I watch it when I can, but you're definitely correct about the gap in quality. It is quite noticeable. Although, I mean, in Glatzel, you have a player who was not so long ago scoring goals for Mainz in the top flight. I think that was shortly after he returned from which Welsh side was it? Was it Cardiff? That he was over there. Yeah. So he's not he led the Zweite Bundesliga in scoring last year, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that. We were talking about this on Monday's pod, that HSV do lead, and now we have, this is...
big chance there as well, really, but poor control by, was it Glatzel, right?
Mm-hmm. There was a counter involving Fürich, and we do have another corner, so we'll see if Hoeness is going to deep dig into the playbook here and potentially... Yes, a good counter involving Fürich forces a good save out of Hoyer Fernandez there, the HSV keeper. Might have done better to pass to Milo in that instance. Yeah, he was crashing in at the far post there. Milo is quite upset that he didn't receive the ball. But here we go with another corner. It will be Fürich on the delivery from the right flag. Not out, a little bit of head tennis. Guirassi, can he do anything on the turn? He's appealing for a handball there. Almost seems like, looked like he touched the ball with his hand. Common practice, not necessarily for a... okay, he is appealing for a handball based on... I don't think you can call that, do you?
Nah, that's not for me. No, it's... Yeah, I think obviously Stuttgart, they sense blood here. I think they believe they can kind of put Hamburg out of this tie in the first 30 minutes, really. They've been by far the better side. They are, as you mentioned, really, Fürich probably should have squared it to Milo. Still a good effort, though. It still forced a really good save out of, obviously, the Hamburg keeper. But, that was a great chance for 2-0. And Stuttgart looked really at it, to be honest. I think that there has been a big gulf in quality. They are checking this penalty. Can you let us know what happens with that?
It is no. It was Jonathan David, the German defender. The ball came down on his resting arm, which he did have up in his aerial duel with Guirassi, but it was a penalty. It was not was not awarded in this particular case. Well, the interesting question from Balam there about how I was feeling about Lautern last year. As play has opened up a little bit here, we have Wagnermann, Milo back there to Mavropanos, who's going to try and switch it over to Fürich. Or no, Sosa. We have some space now. Fürich doing some nifty little dribbling there. There is Karazor, Anton. Mavropanos now going to have a go. Should have done better than that. That was,
Actually, it's still not come up on, man. But yeah, Stuttgart playing some really nice football, and Furyk looks really at it tonight. He seems to be having one of his good days. We always say about Furyk, he's either very good or very bad. But he seems to be on one of his good days today, which is probably not a bad time, to be honest, to have a good day in the relegation playoff. But yeah, I mean, they'll be really happy with how they've started. I think, it is a good game, as Balam says. It's been an entertaining match. I think, already probably 3 shots on target for Stuttgart and 1 half chance for Hamburg as well, with that strike that was well over after about 5 minutes. But yeah, I think, Stuttgart will definitely be the happiest at it. It does look like a strong roster that they've got out there today, doesn't it? I think this is pretty much their strongest side, I would say, even without the likes of Silas. But I still believe this is a real strong side out there from Stuttgart. On to the question from Balam. Where was it?
It's about Lautern last season. Yes, as a matter of fact. Well, I was writing the match reports for both of those matches for Bully News. The first one was awful. The first one was just genuinely awful. I called it the Betzenberg bore. And then, of course, the second one was enthralling and exciting for Lautern fans. I mean, this is, after those years in the 3rd division, we were just absolutely elated to get back to Zweite Bundesliga football once again. I mean, it's just been a very, very rough decade for fans of the Rote Teufel. Very, extremely sad when your hometown is contesting the 3rd flight. But yeah, it was the emotions, I think, were pretty much dead in the first match, and they could not have been more different in the second. Dresden, obviously, a very good opponent last year as well. That was a case where I'm glad I wasn't doing a watch along or watching live in the Bundesrepublik or something like this, because I don't think my nerves would have been able to take it. And that's precisely why we have Rory off camera on this particular evening. We'll see we'll see how this game develops, of course. I don't believe we don't have away goals in effect anymore, correct?
No, yeah, they're not in effect, yeah, but it's
okay. So it shouldn't matter.
It's quite interesting that the last couple, actually, the away team, the fighter team, have actually won the first leg and got on to lose the playoff. Like, I think 2 seasons ago, it was Kiel versus Cologne. And Kiel actually won in Cologne, but then got hammered at Kiel. They lost 5-1 in the second leg, which was a very strange tie, really, because I actually thought Kiel were going to do it that year. And in the first leg, they were the better team, but just completely blew it in the second leg.
That was Jonas Hector, infamously, that was his. Do you recall his post-match interview that year?
Yeah,
where he told I think Amazon was covering it. He told his post-match interviewer that it was his job to ask stupid questions and then stormed off. One of my favorites. Well, there were several good Jonas Hector moments in that particular season. Jonas Hector, of course, a German footballing legend of sorts, who has announced his retirement this year. He'll know
sadly,
sadly, and admitted that he is not going to miss the pressure of top-tier football, and is actually going to be happy to be doing some gardening on Saturday afternoons. A personality that we'll most certainly miss. Yeah. Here we have, looks like Milo drew a free kick. Given that we've had some good set pieces from Stuttgart thus far, that will be a booking for Ludovic Reitz, former Barcelona man, as a matter of fact. And let's see how we have here. It looks like we're about, probably too far to really affect anything. As a matter of fact, they play the free kick short. Very nice switch over to Fürich, which probably stayed in the air too long. And they do have a throw. Furich back. Sosa, Endo, Sosa, and we're headed back to the back ranks here for a recycle. Oh, no. Fury hit with a vertical. He took it down with his shoulder. Cutback is not very good, unfortunately. And HSV recollect. Well,
Yeah.
at least, they showed some good ambition there. I'm not quite sure Fury took that ball down legally, though. Looked like he popped it off of his. A very nice. Was that Endo or Ito who put the vertical through?
It was Ito, I think. Yeah, but it looked like he kind of handled it to me, though. It looked like it went a little bit close to the hand. Yeah, it was a very kind of unorthodox takedown, wasn't it? Let's say that much. But it looked very good. Like, I'd like to see it. I'm still waiting for the replay on that, but it did look like it could have been a handball.
He might have been outside as well.
Maybe just about, yeah.
But a nice ball from the deep there from Ito, who has been one of the pleasant surprises this year. I wasn't too convinced with him in the early stages of the season, but as he's been called into some versatile roles, he's filled in at left back a few times. He's played Sosa's position as the wing back a few times this season. I think his game has really improved as the season has progressed. Of course, he was boosted a little bit by that Japanese World Cup. As we see now, this is a vertical for Yata. Oh, excellent tackle by Ito there. Who did he? Oh, but HSV will still have a throw. Looks like they're going back with it, though. Yeah. HSV nibbling around the edge of the area here. Is Yata heading back? That's right. Is that the Captain Schonlau? Now we're outright to Dompe. Dompe versus Wagnermann. Decent move. Cross in is headed out by Karatsor. Now we have a VfB counter. Or we did. But some very, very brave goalkeeping there by Hoyer Hernandez, who came out to cancel out the counter himself. Well done. Well done by him. I forget, where's he? Is he German or Portuguese? Or he's both. Okay.
Who's that? Sorry.
Daniel Hoyer Fernandez, the HSV keeper. I have.
I think he's a dual national, right?
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's but yeah, obviously going back to that, I think obviously last year a lot of people remember Hamburg were also in the third place playoff as well, and they actually won away in Berlin against Hertha in the first leg, and everybody thought they were going to pull it off that year, but they ended up putting in a pretty horrific performance at home, and Hertha managed to turn it around to delay relegation by what turned out to be just 1 year. But yeah, I mean, at the time it was seen as a bit of a shock, because I think a lot of people have more confidence that Hamburg would turn over that Hertha side than this Stuttgart team. Definitely, I think last year I tipped them to win, but this year I wasn't as confident, because as I've said before on the show a number of times, I do rate this Stuttgart team, and so far today they've been playing well, in my opinion. I think looking forward to next season for them. Say they can stay up, which they probably should be able to do. I think they should be looking back up more towards mid-table. Maybe not quite a top half finish, but hopefully for them they can avoid a third consecutive relegation battle, and do similar to what Werder Bremen have done this year, and stay around about mid-table for the whole season. I would say that's definitely possible with this squad. They could still potentially lose Sousa. I would say that would be highly possible, because, he has been linked away for a number of years now. But, I still think he's got quality, Sousa, even though he's not had his best season, let's be honest, this year, Peter, has he really? Sousa, this hasn't been his strongest year in a VfB shirt. Yeah,
there's been some injury problems. He's been absent. I think he only played. I think he only started maybe 22 league fixtures this year, and he has. Look, I mean, he was along with Angelino and Philip Kostic. I mean, he was among the Bundesliga's best assist suppliers for a couple of years. But let's not forget, that's when he had Sasha Kalajic to feed, which makes things a great deal easier. He's had Guirassi, who, as you mentioned, did sign. That was quite the surprise to learn that news, that he signed permanently with Stuttgart. I mean, he's always loved German football ever since the days that he played with Köln, but to be signed permanently on a side facing relegation, That's interesting. It certainly gave Stuttgart a boost, and you can perhaps see that in their play. I mean, if they are in the event that they are relegated, most of these players are going away. Mavropanos, already linked with a move out, is gone. It's possible that that Endo might be on his way out as well, although the captain does love himself some Stuttgart. Here we have something of a play developing, and it doesn't look like, yes, it is Valdemar Anton in this case, standing tall. Very happy to be back in his natural position after Bruno Labbadia was using him as a right back.
Yeah. But what would you say though, Peter? What would you say you could, based on this roster that VfB have got, would you say they have underachieved, finishing third from bottom? Because a lot of people were tipping them to struggle this year, but a lot of players have emerged as quality additions as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy year, obviously. There's been 4 coaches, if you count Michael Wimmer, who was the interim trainer for a full 3 or 4 matches before prior to the World Cup break. Bruno Labbadia's Stuttgart was an absolute disaster. I don't even know why. I think that's got to be it for him. I mean, you know, after his failed stints at Hertha. And actually, he coached the HSV, what, twice or 3 times? How many stints did he have with HSV? Labbadia?
2, I think it was, not 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, administrative reshuffling. Both, Sven Mislintat was dismissed over the World Cup break so they could bring in Fabian Wohlgemuth. So yeah, 4 trainers, injury problems, Griwasi being the biggest one of that. I mean, they went through an absolute, what a tackle that was from Ito there. Good to see he's feeling it. A nice ball held up from Griwasi means we have a counter. It's Wagnermann. It's back to Griwasi, who is onside. He only has the keeper to beat, and a low shot poses no trouble whatsoever for Fernandez. Yeah, that was an interesting little sequence there. All started off by an excellent tackle from Endo, very good ball hold up from Guirassy, and then Wagnermann re-hit his striker. Nice communication between the two of them on the break run. There's a lot of quality in this side, and I think that. Well, we talked about injuries. We talked about the 4 trainers. We talked about should we talk about the goalkeeping situation as well?
Yeah, that's not exactly helped, has it?
Yeah, between Florian Müller and Fabian Bredlow, both of whom it's common knowledge that Stuttgart want to get rid of at the end of the season, irrespective of which division they play in. So here's a nice switch for Fürich. Again, it's in the air just a little bit too long. Wagnermann trying with those switches, but he's putting a little bit too much power behind those switches for Fürich.
But obviously, he's been one of the players that's kind of come good in recent weeks too, since he's finally started getting picked when Sebastian Hoeness came in, you know. But I think another player that I've really liked in the Hoeness era so far has been Milo. I think he's come, like they were playing Haraguchi, that famous Haraguchi Endo axis, which just wasn't working at all. And Haraguchi they didn't really complement each other well at all. And it looked like a kind of cheap option really from Labbadia when he signed Haraguchi. He'd been a little bit off form for about a year before he joined. But Milo has been a player that's really come good actually in the last 10 games of the season. I think he's going to be one looking ahead to next season that is probably going to be looking at being a regular starter, I think.
Indeed. Well, it was Milo who scored in the Pokal fixture, which was Hoeness's first match in charge.
And has he won a penalty here as well? What's going on there?
I believe he was fouled. We're going to have a VAR check. It was Milo who was fouled, it appears, just outside the area at first glance. But replays are now showing that Reis may have fouled him right on the line there. It's a clear foul. It's a late challenge. He comes in on the back of Milo's calf there. The question is, was it on the line? And we're going to have a VAR review. We are going to have a VAR review as to whether this is going to be a penalty.
It's not looking good. I think it could be a penalty, this, to be honest. Yes. What's Rice doing? He's already picked up a booking. He's going to be one of their key midfielders, and he could even get sent off here. Do you think that's possible?
This is a penalty. Yes, it has been ruled a penalty. match official there. Who we got officiating this? His name will come to me in a moment. Because you know us Germans and our officials, we grade them, we know them, we write up them. It's crazy. Yeah, it is a penalty, and it will be Guirassy who takes it from the spot. Wow. This is huge, obviously. That's Tobias Welz, is what that is. As I admit, I looked it up. But it will be Guirassy who takes from the spot. You'd like his chances here. He's a striker who knows how to finish. VfB fans and the whole Cannstatter Kurve behind him is ready for this. Welz signals that we're ready to go. And it is saved.
He's not shown up for the biggest game of his career, pretty much, Guirassy. He should have had a goal a few minutes ago. What is going on?
We are still active. There's another. They're going to try. There was another cutback in there for Guirassy after some nice work from Wagnermann. Now Wagnermann has a throw. He might try to employ the long throw here, get it in the box for him. But yes, it was actually. I mean, it was lifted half high off the ground to his right, Guirassy. Hernandez guessed right and could only parry it. But
that's a big moment because this has been so one-sided, really. It's been so one-sided, and it should be 2 or even 3-0 in truth. I'd be interested to see the XG, actually. I'm going to check the XG on this one because I think, to be honest, I can see it already being like 2.5 for Stuttgart, to be honest. It's been so one-sided, this one.
I would conjecture that the XG is probably going to be about 0.8 for Stuttgart at this juncture.
You think that low? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, not 2.5 by any stretch of the imagination. Well, actually, once you factor in the penalty, that's 0.75.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, it'll be.
Unfortunately, the Bundesliga site isn't going to give us the XG there.
They'll give it to you at the half. But now we have Dompe cut back. Oh, what an excellent sliding tackle away that was from Cajatzor, whom. Now and I think Kittle's appealing. Kittle wants a penalty as I see the replay here. Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, penalty taking 101. You always, particularly in a match like this, go for the top corner. Yes, you run the risk of hitting the bar or shooting over, but you can't. You'll never forgive yourself if you saw a ground effort saved. We have Führich active right away on the counter. Führich shot, earns a corner off of Hernandez. Another good save.
That was an England penalty, that one, guys, really. That's exactly the kind of penalty that England takes.
It's not like that anymore. Come on.
Come on, don't be silly. We still lose every shootout we ever play. But, that is like an old-school England penalty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here we have the corner in here. This could be dangerous. Sosa on the delivery. A little bit of head tennis now. Now we're talking. Yeah, it comes off a Hausfeld player, so we'll get another interesting sequence that just transpired. I mean, it started with an amazing tackle away from Cajatzor, and while Kittel was appealing for a penalty, Stuttgart railed off the counter involving Führich. Second service from Sosa looks to be pretty useless. Yeah, headed away and then cleared by Dompe. But yeah, I actually did you see that Cajatzor tackle? Did you catch that?
Yeah, that was massive. That was a great tackle.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Why wasn't
I mean, as I say, Stuttgart they've really turned up, but they'll just be absolutely gutted. It should be easily be 2-0, or even 3-0 with that Guirassy one-on-one effort as well. I just think it's been complete dominance from the home side, really, and they need. But this is the big moments. This is what we always talk about with Rory with Stuttgart. They don't take the big moments. That's the problem, and then they often end up paying for these big misses, in games. And that's the reason why they're third from bottom, because they probably shouldn't be there. They shouldn't really be in this game, in truth. But, the kind of team that can dominate a match and then only end up drawing, that's the problem.
Hopefully we won't be talking about this penalty this missed pen coming back to haunt them, because at the end of the day, it's still just 1-0. And, this has been an absolutely, as you say, an absolutely dominant first half. I've liked what I've seen on both flanks from Stuttgart. Sosa and Wagnermann have engineered chances, as has Führich. Guirassy very, very active in the box there. Endo is doing his captain's thing from there in midfield, just roaming away everywhere that he wants to. Karazor has been good on both sides of the ball. We've seen some good defensive tackles from Ito and Anton as well, not to mention Mavropanos' goal. Everybody in the red strip is really on their game now, but we're just 30 minutes in. So the question is this sustainable over the long run, and can we run up the score here so that we can be safe on aggregate? Interesting work on the overlap from Sosa. Cross is deflected into Heuer's arms. That was another very good VfB attacking sequence there, run by Führich. Some excellent intuitive awareness there from Sosa on the overlap to work it. Unfortunately, his cross was deflected into the arms of Heuer Fernandez, who's having a little bit of trouble playing out of the back now. They got it away. Yeah, they need to capitalize on these chances. Absolutely. I think that's, football remains a game of two halves. You never know what some tactical adjustments at the half, some words in the locker room can change at the half. We've seen Stuttgart produce dominant halves before and then go completely MIA in the second 45. So they need absolutely more goals here. XG, not good enough. We need more goals here in a big match that they need to jump out to on a big lead here on aggregate.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it the last time. I think the last watch along that me and you did together, actually, with the DFB Pokal semi-final, and they completely dominated that first half against, obviously, a much better Frankfurt team than this Hamburg side. And we were talking at that time, that maybe they could go to the Pokal final, maybe they could finish outside the bottom three, but obviously they didn't manage to achieve either of those goals in the end. And most of it was because of poor game management rather than poor quality in the team, to be honest. And this will be a fear for Sebastian Hoeness and his men because, at the end of the day, they have completely dominated and they should be at least 2-0 up. They missed a penalty. Guirassy's missed a one-on-one. Führich had that other really good effort, which was well saved. And I mean, really Hamburg, apart from a couple of decent counters, they've done absolutely nothing. And in most cases, when Hamburg have had the ball, the defense has been superb from Stuttgart as well, especially through Ito and Karazor as well. So, I mean, it's just been fantastic performance from them. But they aren't the kind of side that historically have been able to do it over two halves and two legs. That's the problem, But they will fancy the chances against this Hamburg side because they do look a gulf ahead, to be honest, And key midfielder like Rice is, to be honest, lucky to be on the pitch because he could easily have got a second booking for that foul, which gave the penalty away. And he's going to be running on eggshells, really, isn't he?
Yes, he is through. Nice slip pass from Milo, but he did not have the support. Guirassy tried to cut back to no one in particular. Endo and Milo couldn't catch up in time, but Endo was crashing in just way too late there. Now we have that's too easy for Anton to take care of. Although there's a mistake out of the back. Braidlove played a mistake out of the back. Luckily, I think it was Anton who bailed him out after. Oh God, Braidlove. Now this is a problem. Braidlove played a ball directly back to, I think it was Glatzel. Saw a shot blocked. Yeah, I mean, goalkeeping errors.
We were talking about why are Stuttgart in the bottom three, and to be honest, a big part of that is goalkeeping errors.
Oh, that's Florian Müller, and not Braidlove.
It's Müller. Müller is actually starting, which is a bit surprising but I guess Braidlove made a couple of errors in the closing weeks, so maybe that's why.
It's Braidlove is hurt. Okay. So they have and that was Glatzel. Did you catch who blocked it?
It just got it was Yatta, I believe.
Okay. All right.
But I mean, it was terrible. Like again, Florian Muller, for me, he's just, I've described him before as a car crash keeper. Like, for me, he's down there with Schwolo as he's in a similar kind of league to Schwolo, to be honest.
You know that I wrote an article today. Freiburg are considering bringing back either Florian Müller or Alexander Schwolo to back up.
Surely not. Do they want a relegation battle or what?
Well, Atabulo is going to be the first choice keeper next year after Flecken was sold.
The youngster, the German youngster,
the German youngster. So they're considering bringing back one of their old boys as Atabolo's backup. I mean, that's both Müller and Schwolo played for Freiburg and weren't bad when they played for Freiburg. We were talking about this in the last Watchalong, as a matter of fact, that Müller and Schwolo were good when they played for Freiburg, but as soon as they got out of there, they just completely tanked. So some nice interplay here. We got a decent Haasfall going to break into the box here. It's going to be a tight angle shot. Müller has to palm one away. Dompe's trying to collect the rebound. Can't exactly figure out what he wants to do with it. There's a switch over. And there's Yatta. There's too many players. Too many Stuttgart bodies back in the box. Textbook quality defending there from Stuttgart.
They do play some decent football. Or some of the one-touch passing is quite aesthetic, isn't it, from Hamburg? I've got to say, when they get on the ball and they get deep into the Stuttgart half, they play some decent football. But I think that is going to be something that Hamburg are looking at going into the second half. The Muller just looks like a bag of nerves, to be honest. Like, whenever it comes near him, obviously he's had a horrendous season. He's probably going to leave the club, pretty much certain to leave the club. So this is going to be probably his second to last game in a shirt, basically. And
they don't want to keep either one of them. They want a new keeper, and that's irrespective. And there's a turnover there by Endo. You don't see that very often. Dompe breaks in, deflected off of Kachatzor. So I believe Haasfall have a corner here. Yeah, the last 7 minutes, we've seen some quality attacking there from Hamburg. And this is what we were talking about. You don't finish your chances, Hamburg can find their way back into this match. As they show the replay of Guirassi's breakaway, which was a poor finish. Add to that his penalty, also a poor finish. For some reason, our French striker here is not playing like a man who just signed a new permanent contract and surely got a pay raise.
I was just going to mention that, it was him that lost the ball in a poor area. Obviously, alongside Müller, I would say Guirassi has been the most disappointing player on the pitch for Stuttgart. Oh, sorry, guys. But I think in general, he's just not turned up. I guess that's one thing that might potentially worry Stuttgart. Sometimes when a player gets a nice, cushy contract, they let their standards drop a little bit. We've seen it happen a lot over the years, and that might possibly be a concern. But it's nothing too much. He's just having a bad day. It happens. Strikers can have bad days sometimes out there, But
I'm sure his confidence is actually, here's an opportunity for him again, but he can't hold the ball up. He loses the ball. His confidence has taken a nosedive. And he also looks to be drenched in sweat, despite the fact that we're entering the 40th minute here. Perhaps some fitness issues. It's not always the easiest thing in the world to go from a high intensity, and he went the full 90 minutes against Hoffenheim. And I'm sure that Hoeness has been running everybody hard on the training pitch as well. There probably weren't any days off ahead of this match, but it looks like we have some confidence and we have some fitness issues with Stuttgart's lead striker. Not good news, considering there isn't anyone else that they can turn to.
Apart from maybe Pfeiffer, but I don't think they're going to want to do that either.
Pfeiffer might have some confidence in his legs after. Did he score in that 4-1?
I don't think he scored the whole season, did he? Or did he get one goal in that? But Yeah, he's not been particularly impressive. Maximum 1 goal this season. So, yeah. But just another good question as well from Ballum in there. Yeah, relegation 2023 match. Who will start as favourite for relegation next season? That's an interesting point, yeah. I know, Ballum, you've been waiting for Augsburg to get relegated for years, but it just never happens. Yeah, everyone knows it's the number one rule about the Bundesliga that Augsburg just don't get relegated, basically. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think our Leipzig's for the DFB. Yeah, we'll talk about that more at half time as well, the DFB Pokal, because I wanted to do a bit of a preview for that on Saturday evening. But yeah, what do you think, Peter? Is there a team that kind of stand out now? Obviously, we don't know any of the transfers and everything or what the squads will look like next season, but is there any team that looks to you like favourites for relegation at this stage?
We can talk about that a little bit more at the half. My gut reaction would have been Augsburg, as a matter of fact, but they just completed a very impressive double signing today. Finn Dahmen, the Mainz keeper who impressed so well against Dortmund over the weekend, signed, as did Darmstadt's Patrick Pfeiffer, the most valuable player on newly promoted Darmstadt side. We knew both of these transfers were in the works for some time, but an excellent double signing for them to start things off. There's a lot interesting going on with Augsburg in terms of the transfer market. They have signed Berisha permanently. They're currently towing a very, very hard line with negotiations with both Feyenoord and also PSV Eindhoven, who are interested in acquiring Ricardo Pepi, who doesn't want to return. But they want a serious return on their investment for Pepi. Pepi cost them 16 million euros. So they want to get around about that from whichever Eredivisie side is interested in purchasing him. So that'll put some money in the coffers there. Augsburg, as we know, as we've discussed many times on this pod, do have some extra investor backing from this US-based Bolt Football Holdings, which enables the Fuggerstädter to spend above what you would consider a club in that type of market's means. Yeah. So Augsburg, and they had probably one of the most active January transfer windows of any Bundesliga side, bringing in all of those signings, and they're going to have a very, very active summer as well.
I think they're superb signings, though, Dahmen, because he always impressed me. I was a little bit surprised that Mainz didn't even give him a shot as number one, because I think Zentner, I know he's solid, but for me, I always like Dahmen a little bit more, I think, actually, than Zentner. And then, obviously, Pfeiffer is a massive signing, because he was rock solid. I actually saw him play for Darmstadt against Nuremberg, and he was like an absolute rock in that defense. Yes. And yeah, I think he could be one of the dark horses for like early signing of the season. And obviously the permanent capture of Berisha. I know he kind of went off the rails a bit the last 5-6 games of the season. He didn't, but he's still a good signing. And with a full pre-season behind him, I don't think they'll go down. I actually think Augsburg will. I would like to see them push a little bit further up, actually, to be honest. But it's going to be hard. But how are the two promoted sides going to do? Let's be honest. They look a little bit weak in the running, because obviously Heidenheim, they've got a striker. They've got Kleindienst, who I really like. He's a classic goal scorer, but whether he can translate that into the Bundesliga, I don't know. And then obviously Darmstadt have already lost 5 for a few of their other key players are also linked with decent moves to other Bundesliga teams too. So I would say Darmstadt would have the better chance of the two of staying up, if any of them. But Heidenheim, it's going to be hard. I've got a feeling it could be a Greuther Fürth kind of situation with them, to be honest.
I'm going to prepare something really, really fun for us at the half with regard to Heidenheim. A nice little bit of trivia and information. As soon as halftime strikes, which it's about to, there's not been a lot of action on the pitch in the last 5 minutes of. No. We should get a couple of minutes of added time here, thanks to, I think, 1 injury timeout and the penalty, of course, the VAR review for that. But I'll have something interesting to say about Heidenheim at the half. You're right. These two promoted sides are not particularly strong, and it's sort of a replay of what happened a couple of years ago when we saw Schalke and Bremen get relegated. We saw Bochum and Spielvereinigung Greuther Fürth promoted. And of course, Fürth, we all expected them to go down immediately, and they of course did. Bochum defied the odds, staying up. They've just secured their third Bundesliga season. Bochum have to be considered relegation candidates because of their financial situation, obviously. And I think that Köln, you can absolutely consider them relegation candidates as well, because Christian Keller has admitted, he's not going to be pursuing any large summer signings. They have lost Elias Skiri, who's departing on a free. It doesn't look like they'll have anybody to replace him. And they're not going to be able to augment a striking core that features, Davy Selke and Stefan Tigges, who have done their bit over the last few weeks. But I mean, they clearly need upgrades, and they're not going to be able to afford them. And actually, here we are at 45+1. There is a set piece outside the Stuttgart area left. Borna Sosa with the delivery. It is headed just wide. Oh, Mavropanos nearly with the brace. But unfortunately, that was a good design there. You could see that Mavropanos did a good job of shaking off his marker. A difficult ball to head home.
Yeah, that was unlucky, that one. Yeah, but another chance for the
chance for Stuttgart. You'll have to don't forget to check those XG stats at the half, because
I'm definitely going to look that up.
They'll usually give them to you in the live ticker.
But just another good point as well about Augsburg. Something that I also wondered about too, because I mean, obviously Enrico Maaßen, I think at points he's looked like pretty capable, but overall you wouldn't say he's exactly, set the world alight. Obviously they were lucky to avoid the playoff in the end. For me, this was their strongest squad that they've had probably since the first stint of Weinzel. I would say this has been their strongest squad since probably like 2015-16, around about that time. And I mean, on one side, I think they did okay. Yeah, they had an okay season. They avoided relegation, which is their number one goal, but you were hoping that they might get a little bit further up the table for me, and the way they finished the season was really poor. But what do you think? Have you heard anything more on Enrico Maaßen? Do you think they're definitely going to keep him, or?
I've not heard any. I think that they will keep him. There was a nice, interesting chance for Hausfall within the area. It was well cleared out defensively by Anton, and then it's out for a goal kick. So that probably should take us up to halftime. I've openly said on the pod and also in my weekly column that I'm not impressed with what Maaßen has done as a trainer. I think that the summer would be an ideal time to switch him out. It was an odd head coaching appointment to begin with, I think, because, it was Weinziel actually. I was expecting Weinziel to get fired close to the end of the season, just like Heiko Herrlich, Manuel Baum, and Martin Schmidt, the current Mainz sporting director. But no, Weinziel resigned on the last day of the season last year. And they had a little bit of difficulty finding or procuring a replacement. So they brought in Maaßen, who was the Borussia Dortmund 2 trainer, the trainer of the Dortmund reserves. And so he's a rookie head coach. He's very young. And basically he built the team around this 4-4-2 that was rather unorthodox. And it had its successes this season. But outside of that basic 4-4-2, none of his alternate tactical constellations have been particularly solid, I think. So, it was my contention that the offseason would be a wonderful opportunity to dismiss Maaßen and maybe bring in somebody else to help this team next year. But I guess, well, I mean, when Augsburg, you're not exactly going to. I'm going to go ahead and switch on my light too, because I see I'm a little bit dark. But you're not going to lure a high profile head coach to Augsburg. So that's a factor that you have to consider. Probably now I'm looking kind of in shadow. Let me see. Well, all right.
You're all right.
Nobody tunes into this broadcast to see my face. I thought it would be a good idea to. I also thought that Wolfsburg should probably part company with Kovac, and it doesn't look like that's happening at all. In point of fact, they want to rebuild the team against, with some former strikers that have worked under Kovac, Kevin Volland, who was with Kovac at Monaco, or possibly even a return to the Bundesliga for Ante Rebic, who was with him at Frankfurt. So it looks like Wolfsburg want to keep their trainer. It looks like Augsburg want to keep their trainer. We still don't know what's going on with Fark at Gladbach. The latest on that is that Roland Virkus wants to take a few days, then they'll have some talks, then they'll do a reassessment. Yeah, that's ordinarily you do see a lot of head coaches sacked at the end of the Bundesliga season because teams want to make a fresh start in the Sommervorbereitung there. But we just didn't see it this year, even though there were several candidates for whom this could have.
I think it could be because some of the clubs, in my opinion, like some of the clubs where they've had too much upheaval in recent years, especially Gladbach. I mean, they seem to change coach every year. Do you know what I mean? So I think Fark, again, he's similar to Marson. Like at points, you thought he's done okay because this was a strange Gladbach team. We knew that a lot of the players weren't really that happy there. I think you tipped them to really struggle, hadn't you, and be right down near the relegation. That never happened, and they were always comfortable mid-table. They finished in 10th place in the end, which by Gladbach fans, they're probably not going to be very excited about that at all. But again, is the grass always greener? They could end up next year. They're going to end up with a totally new squad, which is probably going to be lower quality. And do they want, a trainer that's kind of a rookie or something to take over that squad? I don't know, really.
Well, it's with rookie trainers in the Bundesliga. Think back to when everything started to go south for Hertha. Was back at the beginning of the 2019-20 campaign when they parted company with Paul Dardai after 4.5 years. They've brought him back twice since, but they brought in this what was his name, Ante Kovac, who lasted. It lasted until November. And that's really when things began going south for Hertha, is that, you had actually a squad that was backed by a much, much bigger investor than Augsburg has. And you just brought in the wrong coach, and that led to a cascading series of failures. After Kovac, it was or Kovic, I should say, it was Klinsmann, and then Labadia, and then Dardai again, and then Typhoon.
Darde's always done pretty well, though. That's the thing. Like I remember when they sacked him last time, they shouldn't have done that either, really, because they were mid-table when they sacked him last time.
Yeah, well, that was the problem was that after Hertha began the season with 3 losses, Dardai said that he wanted to maybe go back and coach the youth academy, that's where his heart is. So Freddie Bobic at the time said, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not looking for a new coach," and all of this stuff. But as soon as he said that, you knew that that Bobic couldn't keep him in place. And I'm not saying Bobic did a good job as Hertha administrator; did a horrible job. But I mean, he really didn't have much of a choice. Since we're talking about head coaches, I wanted to do this little thing that I thought of, this idea that I thought of for Heidenheim. As we were mentioning on the pod on Monday, Heidenheim have had Frank Schmidt as their trainer, as their head coach in charge since 2007. Wow. He is just the second head coach to ever work the sidelines for this club since it was consolidated. And I thought, since we're watching Hamburger SV this season or this evening, it might be a fun thing to do to list all of the coaches that HSV have had since 2007. Cool. Yeah. So I'm going to do this now. Okay. For Heidenheim, since 2007, you have had just Frank Schmidt. Yeah. For HSV, you have had Huub Stevens, Martin Jol, Bruno Labbadia in his first stint, Ricardo Moyes, Armin Vey, Michael Oerning, Rodolfo Cardoso, Frank Arneson, Torsten Fink, Rodolfo Cardoso again, Bert Van Marwijk. I don't even remember that. He coached the HSV. Wow, yeah. Miro Slumpka. I'm running out of, I don't have any, I have to, my fingers. Wow. Josef Zinbauer, Peter Knebel. Peter Knebel coached HSV, the current Schalke administrator. Bruno Labbadia again. Marcus Gisdol. Bernd Hollerbach, Christian Titz, Hannes Wolf, Dieter Hecking, Daniel Tione, Horst Rübeck, and Tim Walter.
Wow, yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, and let's be honest, if Heisfeld loses playoff, I wouldn't be surprised to see the end of Walter as well.
So the team that secured dramatic promotion and the Zweite Bundesliga title with an incredible late comeback win. They scored 2 goals in injury time this weekend to go from the relegation playoff place to Bundesliga 2 winners, have had one coach in charge over the last 15 years or 16 years. And HSV have had, I ran out of fingers, I counted it there.
It was about 15, 16 or more.
20 trainers HSV have had in the last 15 years.
Yeah, but he seems like a right character as well, Schmidt. I'm really looking forward to seeing him next year in the Bundesliga. Like, I don't know what to expect from Heidenheim, but I've got the feeling that we're going to see some real like character from him, Schmidt. Like, if you look at him, he just looks like a proper like old school guy, doesn't he? You know, like the kind of guy that you find in like a production factory in BMW or something like that. You know, he's got that kind of vibe about him. But he seems like a right character, like a proper football man, and I'm really looking forward to see. I think he could be another Streich, Baumgart kind of character in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really something to look forward to next year. I mean, he'll remain Heidenheim's coach even if they get relegated. I mean, they're not going to change course with him now. So you know, and actually. You mentioned Streich and Baumgart. Streich for Freiburg and Baumgart when he was coaching Paderborn were also coaches that their Bundesliga side stuck with after relegation because they've still believed in their coaching regimes. And so it's going to be great to have 2 real club coaches in the Bundesliga next season with Streich and Frank Schmidt. And you know,
sorry about that.
So as we said, your relegation favorites are going to be the 2 promoted teams, Augsburg, depending on the transfer window, Bochum, obviously, and Köln, because we already know.
One that we've not mentioned there that I think is worth mentioning, a team that had a horrendous runder actually in the end is Werder Bremen as well. I'm not sure whether we can say they are, because I think there's a good chance they'll lose at least one of Dux and Fulkrug, possibly even both. It's possible, and if they lose both, then then all of a sudden, because their defense was pretty poor in truth last season, and they were relying on goal scoring, and obviously most of those goals came from the 2 big men up front, and obviously some other good players as well, likes of Schmid, Bittencourt played well, obviously Starger as well, or Stage, or however you say his name. He played well too. There were some really good performers in that team, but most of them were attackers, and some of those players are already being linked away. So I agree with you on Köln. I definitely think they've lost Jonas Hector, who is a massive loss, even though he was getting quite old. Obviously, Shaqiri, as you mentioned, who's been their player of the season the last 2 years, really. And then they're not going to be able to replace them with much quality. That's the problem. So a lot of it depends on whether Selke can kind of keep his form from the end of the season, because he really was good back end of the season. He was the player that people hoped he would be in his younger days, the likes of Werder Bremen and Hertha Berlin. Peter's not convinced, so I don't think.
Well, I mean, he's eventually going to go back to being Davy Selke, at one point. I mean, he's not the tallest striker. He's not the most mobile striker. He's not the best on the ball hold up. I mean, he was. I think he was overachieving a lot in his early days with Leipzig. I don't think he ever made it up from the German U21 ranks to the senior side, and that's because of his physicality, and also, I mean, mentality too. I mean, he was not. He famously got in some dust-ups with Jogi Löw about his attitude and things like that. And he is actually, I mean, he's a very passionate guy. He's known for giving you great quotes in the post-match interviews. But I think that, I think I wouldn't want to say that he's done. I mean, he's already reached like the twilight of his career. And there was some happy to see him succeed in those final few matches for Köln. But I mean, it's not like he was setting the world on fire or anything. You just got to cut the ball.
But I totally agree, though. In all seriousness, I don't think that that striking options of Stefan Tigges and Davy Selkirk is simply. It's going to be one of the weakest strike forces, if not the weakest strike force in the Bundesliga next year. Really, so Baumgart's going to really have to provide miracles because this season it wasn't the strongest team, but they still had the likes of Shaqiri, who's a real quality player in a key position in the pivot. Also, obviously, Hector. I mean, he's a former German international. I think he got like 50 caps for Germany. So obviously, he's a top quality player that they've had. They're going to lose both of them this season. So, I mean, that's going to be a massive loss. And whether they can bring the quality in to replace them, that's the issue.
Yeah, I think they officially released Sebastian Andersson as well, which they were going to. I mean, that was pretty much expected. He was the Swedish striker that they brought from FC Union Berlin, where he actually had done a pretty good job. But they were. He actually had elective surgery this season, rather than accept some transfer offers that Keller was trying to orchestrate. So he had a falling out with club management, and it looked to be the case that they weren't going to give him another shot. And I understand that, of course. But, I mean, assuming he came back from the surgery, Anderson, he could conceivably be a 10, 12-goal striker. So, I was
potentially even Mr. Anthony Modeste, because, I mean, he's left Dortmund again. Like, he's going to be looking for he probably fancies another couple of years at the big time.
Yeah, that would be great but again, there was this dust up with club management. Baumgart wasn't happy about the way that he transferred out. Keller was a little bit disappointed that he took the Dortmund opportunity. I mean, look, Anthony Modeste is one of Germany's. We all love Anthony Modeste. He's a cult figure in German football. Ever since he came back and revived his career. We've just been so happy for him because he went to China and then he went AWOL. Actually, he left his Chinese club and came back to the Bundesliga, and then he had those injury-riddled years where you thought he was just done. And then when he put together that great campaign for Köln season before last, the 2021-22 campaign, and there was a video that went viral when there was a German reporter who was trying to interview him after the match, right? And so he started speaking to him in English, and Modeste looked at him and said, "Kannst du nicht Deutsch?" and the guy was like, "Ja, ich kann Deutsch, aber das ist das für internationale Publikum. It's for international audience." And Modeste was like rolling his eyes and like, so the guy asked him, was like, "So how does it feel to be the man who scored a brace and won the game?" And Modeste looks at him and goes, "Good." That's all he said.
He's a cracking bloke, isn't he? Yeah. I think he's actually French, though, isn't he? Originally, he was born in France.
Yeah, but he learned the language. That's the point. I mean, the Bundesliga is full of international players, some of whom don't make an effort at all to learn the language. And
Jude Bellingham, for example.
Yeah, that is. I have to say that is a little bit disappointing.
Jadon Sancho as well.
Jadon Sancho learned a little bit of German. He conducted some German interviews. I remember seeing them. But Erling Haaland didn't bother learning much German, unfortunately, because he knew he was only there for a quick stopover before he headed over to the Isle, and that was most disappointing from our perspective. But yeah, I mean. A player like Modeste, another Frenchman, Joshua Guilavogui, who is released by Wolfsburg. I thought he saw a transfer to Stuttgart nixed in the transfer window. I hope he plays a couple more years too in the Bundesliga if that's possible. Those are Modeste and Guilavogui. Those are two great Frenchmen that we'd absolutely love to still have in German football for a couple of years. I mean, to be fair, most of the German, most of the French players who come to Germany do learn the language. Most of it, and the Dutch players have already been learning German since they were in grade school. So I mean, the Holland players, the Belgian players, the French players, they learn the language just fine.
Do you know what? One thing that really interested me was when I went back to the UK, I didn't realize that all the Bundesliga teams also conduct interviews in English as well. Because I always watch the German coverage, the DAZN, and then I realized that when I went back to the UK, that a lot of they also do a lot of English interviews as well after the games, which is quite interesting, really.
Well, the goal is to make it more of an international brand, and that's perfectly fine. I have no problems when I was watching ESPN in the States, watching Archie Rentut, conduct English language interviews with coaches and players afterwards. I love Archie. Archie's great. Despite the fact that he's a Fulham fan.
Indeed. Just as the second half is about to get underway as well.
I don't believe we have any changes that I could see. So we've got the same 11s out here. Nice little Pyro demonstration in the Darmstadter over there. It is a safe one without smoke. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, unlike the one we saw at Leverkusen a couple of weeks ago as well.
It's not hard to just do smoke-free Pyro, Oh, there's a cross in, and it is headed over by Wagnermann. Did it come off a HSV player? Potentially looks to be the case. Yeah. Are you swatting mosquitoes there, Mark? Is that?
Yeah. There's so many. I had to go and close the window before. Yeah, it was like all around. There's like little insects and stuff. Yeah, it's so hot here. It almost feels like.
Well, my good man. It's not. You should come down to Louisiana with me one time. You'll see some.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
All right. So off the corner, 2 crosses in. One by Endo is also unsuccessful for Anton in crashing out for a goal kick. Okay, nothing came of the early Stuttgart set piece.
Yeah, but it's still all Stuttgart again so far. Yeah, no changes in the second half as of yet, which is it's probably expected because both teams are going to want to go full and they're going to want to keep the full teams out as long as possible in this magnitude of game. Just. Couple of other questions as well coming in from Ballum. How close is Heidenheim to you, Mark? Yeah, actually, it's relatively close, not very close, but you're looking at like 150 kilometers roughly away. I think it's more towards Ulm. I think that's the nearest big town to Heidenheim. I think Peter can confirm that one. It's actually on the border of Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg. I think they're officially in Baden, though, right? I think they're officially in Baden-Württemberg, but it's very, very close to the border of Bavaria too. Yeah. So it is possible I could get over there next year, but I think it's going to be really hard to get tickets because the ground is just. I think it's 10,000 capacity. It's
it's a little more than that, but it's it is not a we're going to have some small stadiums in the Bundesliga next year. Darmstadt actually don't have a very large ground themselves. Well, let's not forget that Union Berlin, Champions League Union Berlin have 22,012.
Yeah. But it's not going to be good for the Bundesliga capacity. That's the worry, that maybe obviously losing Hertha and Schalke and potentially Stuttgart too, although I guess Stuttgart and Hamburg probably get similar level crowds, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of bad news for the international broadcast too, because you got to, when you have teams like Schalke and Hertha, Schalke much more so than Hertha, you can still get viewing figures in the States in the hundreds of thousands. I mean, for Heidenheim versus Bochum, you'd be lucky if 10,000 people in the States tune into that match. So it's not going to be the best for some of the broadcasting deals. As we've seen, I would say in the first opening 3 minutes here for Stuttgart, we've had Führich and Sosa making some more things happen up the left flank there. Offside call as well, and there was an instance in which Endo didn't handle a ball, a slip-in pass there so terribly well when he was one step ahead of the HSV defensive line. See, Ballum wants us to mention the Dusseldorf free tickets. We mentioned it, Ballum. We mentioned it plenty of times on the pod. Yeah, it is.
We are aware of it, and we're excited to see how it goes.
We're going to do it.
I might head over to Dusseldorf because I've never actually been to Dusseldorf, the city, as well, and it's always been somewhere I've wanted to go in Germany. So maybe I'll definitely consider going over there. It'll be interesting to see if they can fill out the ground next season, because I think one of the main reasons why they did it is because their tendencies were a little bit disappointing this season. I think they were only getting like 30,000 in a 50,000 seater stadium or something. So, which is still not terrible for the second league, by the way, but they wanted to get more, I think,
Well, there is a little bit of controversy in there, in that the free tickets are being 100% financed by sponsors. But I mean, Düsseldorf are not a club that one could ever accuse of selling out. I mean, they are right after FC St. Pauli, the biggest punk rock club in Germany, supported by Campino and the Tote Hosen, the great, the legendary German punk rock band. So hope Milo's through. Oh, switch over. This has to finish. And it is 2-0. Wagnermann who finishes it. Yes, well done by Milo, assuming the goal stands. There's
that man Milo. Yeah, that man Milo. Yeah, quality player, Absolutely. Really. I think he's going to be one to watch next season, and it is looking more and more likely, Peter, isn't it, that we will be seeing the VfB in the Bundesliga next season. There's nothing in this Hamburg side, really. I just don't think they've got enough quality in midfield. That's the problem so far. I think when they get it to that front three, there is some quality there. But I've been really disappointed with Rice, who's meant to be like a real high-profile player. But Stuttgart, they've applied themselves. They've come out and they've got the 2-0 lead that they deserve, Peter.
Absolutely. It all started at the back with Sosa, Fürich operating a little bit more advanced. It's an excellent slip pass into the onside, Milo. I think, did the cutback come off a sliding Hausfall defender there? It doesn't matter. I mean, Wagnermann was wide open on the onrush there. They were all at 6s and 7s at the back there. There was no way that was, you could consider that acceptable defending, particularly not in a match like this. But yeah, it does look increasingly likely. I wonder when Rory will check in to say that that Bundesliga. When we were talking about the relegation race, two teams that we did not mention would be Stuttgart, who we anticipate that if they do stay up, we'll play a much better season next year, and Hoffenheim, which cannot help but play a better season next year, given
they couldn't have been much worse, and they still managed to stay up. So I think.
Well, I mean, with the amount of money that goes into building that roster as a privately financed club.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with you. I wouldn't imagine. Obviously, if it is Stuttgart, which is looking more and more likely, I don't think they'll feature in the relegation race next year. I think Hoeness is doing a very good job of rebuilding his reputation there. Let me say that much. I think he's managed to get a tune out of this roster, and I think he makes it look a much better side than what Labadia did. Let's be honest, because he had Anton playing right back, he had Haraguchi and Endo Axis.
Yes, well, that's
a complete disaster.
During the Labadia days, we were bringing that up on the pod week after week after week. Why is Waldemar Anton playing right back? Why is Joshua Wagnermann not starting when he's good enough for the German national team? What's with Haraguchi, Endo Axis? Why are we doing this? I mean, Labadia was just doing the same. He was making these same mistakes over and over and over and over again. Hoeness didn't necessarily have to work too hard to, as you say, get a tune out of this roster, because I mean it was just simply a matter of implementing some more straightforward tactics. As we see some great shots of the Stuttgarter Fankurve getting excited. I think the cameraman, at least in the German broadcast here on Sat.1, has deliberately selected the girthiest VfB Stuttgart fans.
That was a great clip. That was fantastic. There's a good bunch, the Stuttgart fans. So obviously, I was down there earlier in the season, and we had some real good laughs with them. Yeah, they were a good bunch, and very, very good atmosphere there as well, especially for a city that are known to be like quite serious people as well within Germany. But like the crowd there is superb. I'm not sure I can say it's one of the best in Germany because I've not been to every ground in Germany, but it's definitely one of the best that I've been to in Germany. And I was really impressed with it.
Absolutely. No, it is. Oh, and that's 3-0. Guirassy finishes off Borna Sosa's corner. Not a non-existent marking on there, but excellent for Guirassy, who has spurned two gilt-edged chances, as they say. But he has gone ahead and finished off an Endo corner, and that is the 3-0. Probably don't even need to bother playing the second leg, much less doing a watch along on it at this point, because that's how can HSV come back from this on aggregate?
I'm just not. I don't see enough in the side. Like as you say, defensively they look poor. I mean, they've conceded a lot of goals in this Fighter Liga, and to be honest, VfB could easily be 5-0 up. If this was 5-0 now, you wouldn't say it flatters. To be honest, they missed a penalty. Gurassi's missed 3 other chances. They've conceded 2 goals off headers from corners, and I don't know whether they're devastated. It's possible that it could have been a result of obviously what happened on Sunday. You know, obviously they've not had very long to recover. They were absolutely devastated. They were up. When their game finished, they were basically Heidenheim needed 2 goals in that match. And obviously they managed to get those 2 goals. There was a lot of controversy of why there was 11 minutes added on and things like that. But they've not come prepared to this match, I don't think, Hamburg. And they've just looked, whether it's a lack of quality, that is possible as well. But I don't know, Peter. I've not been that impressed with Hamburg tonight. Have you?
No, not in the slightest. We got that. The only real chance came off of the Müller's, the keeper's turnover, straight to Glatzel. And now now Stuttgart are just operating, I mean, in as much space as they want to, leisurely passing the ball around here. They'll start turning tricks any second here now. I'm sure the 4-0 won't be long and forthcoming. Yeah, I mean, the HSV are completely falling apart at this point. They don't, and Stuttgart are just passing around, having a good time. They're spurned on by their fans, screaming down the house for the players and whipping them into a frenzy. This is looking very, very good for Stuttgart. Well, yeah, I think what you brought up about Sunday is absolutely right. I mean, what happened was, as we've discussed a couple times on this very broadcast, is that. Yeah, I mean, that's just devastating for them. Entering injury time, having completed that 1-0 victory over Sandhausen, they were in the automatic promotion place. As a matter of fact, I was covering all of the matches for Bully News, and I had HSV's promotion article already written. When Heidenheim scored those 2 goals, and I had to rewrite the entire damn article. Which happens sometimes. So yeah, the poor HSV fans. I mean, they were there celebrating in the Sandhausen Stadium there. They were celebrating their direct Aufstieg, their promotion.
Direct promotion.
And then that happened, and yeah, it's going to be a 6th consecutive season of second tier football. We're going to have 21 trainers in the last 15 years after they sacked Tim Walter here, I would imagine. Yeah. So this has become an absolute disaster. And
it's not going to be easy next year with Schalke and Hertha relegated too. Like this year was seen as a weaker Fighter Liga because obviously, if you look at the 2 teams that went up, like their budgets can't match Hamburg, for example. You know, the likes of Darmstadt and Heidenheim. So Hamburg even Nuremberg were seen as having a chance of getting promoted this year, which is saying a lot. But obviously next year you're going to have Hertha, who have still got money in the coffers, providing they get that license, which most people seem to think they will. Then obviously Schalke are going to be big favourite. You know, the 2 relegated teams are going to be pretty hot favourites, I think, and we could even potentially see another playoff for Hamburg. It's hard to get out of that league because, you know, when you keep messing up every year, like it just gets more and more depressing for the fans as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is not, for a team whose fan base never saw them relegated from the Bundesliga ever, to spend 6 years in the second flight over the course of six different head coaches, and then to lose in the playoffs 2 consecutive years. We see that Glatzel did dig out a corner there with that effort off a set piece that also went off the post. But even if they pull a goal back here, I mean, it's still, what can you say? And if anything, there's Führich on the counter. He's got Wagnermann trying to catch up. Guirassy, Endo also. Führich goes for it himself. Yeah, why not? Doesn't matter.
To be fair, that was a good save by Müller, though, from Glatzel there. Yeah, that was a nice save, actually.
It was.
But it's their only real proper chance of the whole match, and it's come after 58 minutes when they're 3-0 down. So, I still think that VfB will want to get a 4th or even a 5th just to be 200% sure when they go to Hamburg. Because, in Hamburg, the atmosphere will be amazing. It'll be intense. And they won't want to leave any chances after what's happened tonight.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they bring in the Suhonen. What is he, Finn? Sounds like a Finn. Where have I heard that name before? Suhonen. Where have I heard that man's name? HSV employing their first substitution from either side, just shy of the hour mark. There is a turnover in midfield. HSV have a chance to break with Yata. Plays it forward to the newly subbed on Suhonen, who does dig out a corner. Where is this guy from? Where have I heard him before? Yeah, he is from Finland. Yes. Anssi Suhonen from I don't know if he's ever played in he's played for the Finnish national team. That's, of course, there's lots of guys named Suhonen in that Russo-Nordic country. Will be a corner. It doesn't. I mean, okay, you got a half hour to play. It's not impossible that they pull 3 goals back, but Stuttgart have looked very, very strong on the counter this evening, and I would conjecture that the more risk the guests take here, the greater a chance Stuttgart have to capitalize on the counter, because they've looked strong.
Yeah,
it might be the case that Milo and Führich are kind of running out of gas a little bit at this point, but that's fine. I mean, Hoeness can go to Tomas and Silas off the bench, can he not?
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, I think a lot of it is also a golfing class. Ultimately, I mean, I've said it many times, and I feel justified to say it's a relatively strong VfB side. It should be a mid-table Bundesliga team, really, with this squad.
Yeah.
With a better keeper, okay, let's say that. But I mean, in general, it should be a better, and hopefully for them under Hoeness, they will be able to push on. But I mean, as for Hamburg, obviously, can they keep Glatzel? Maybe the likes of, if Werder do lose someone like a Füllkrug or a Dutch, maybe they could be. He's the kind of guy they'll be tempted to go for. And I mean, obviously, he is a goal machine in this fighter level. But I mean,
yeah, he was linked with a move to the top tier last year, but he opted to stay in Hamburg and sign an extension. Oh, there's a bad turnover by Kadsor. There's a chance. Dompe. Oh, what is he doing? What are you doing? He was dancing there in the box when all he had to do was just take a clear shot. He had enough guys there that would do. Yeah. There's a time to dance on the footballing pitch, and there's a time put those dancing shoes away. That was just an incredibly stupid and meaningless, superfluous scissor. We saw from him there.
It's interesting to see the contrasting styles of the managers too. Like Walter almost looks like a kind of spin-off from Castaway, doesn't he? Whereas Hoeness almost looks like an overgrown teenager in some ways with that style going on, doesn't he? Like,
yeah, I told you. I said earlier,
contrasting styles of the managers. I think
he's doing his best Grizzly Adams impersonation. I think.
Yeah.
Earlier, that is, I've not seen. Yeah, that the beard is kind of a new thing for Walter. He's always been the type to keep some, Pellegrino, Matarazzo, Marco Rosa.
I love the Pellegrino Matarazzo style. He almost reminds me of like a kind of like Bronx mafia leader. I think, he's got that kind of American Italian style about him.
An interesting thing with Pellegrino Matarazzo and Marco Rosa to keep track of is that they both have the same kind of facial hairstyle. So, and now that they're both in the Bundesliga, there was a time when they weren't. But the two things to keep an eye on is whether Matarazzo or Rosa will go grayer first. I'm really curious about that because, I think it's like 70. It's a 70-30 salt pepper mix, and I think Matarazzo's slightly ahead, and then you have the fact that they're both balding from the same scalp spot. So I'm not quite sure which guy is going to lose all his hair first. I mean, you could have really interesting prop bets there on which guy is going to have the grayer beard or which guy is going to go bald first there.
Well, given that he's playing managing Hoffenheim, my money would be on Pellegrino, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, the stress factor. The stress factor is definitely a factor when it comes to who's going to go gray first or who's going to go bald first. Yeah, but Walter, the castaway Grizzly Adams look is relatively new for him. I guess that was his playoff beard, but
it's not worked out very well.
Not work out very well at all. Yeah. Well, you feel kind of you definitely you feel bad for him because he has done a decent job with this club, and I mean he led them to the playoff last year as well. I mean he was the real solution. After when they missed out on the playoff spot and Dieter Hecking went to Nuremberg back in 2020. I really wasn't. I wasn't convinced that they were going to be able to stay in the top third of the league there. But Walter's he's done a good job, but it's not good enough. I mean, it's not good enough now. Now we have Königsdorfer coming on.
Yeah, I think for me, from my side, I just feel sorry for him because, as you mentioned, they were literally they were 1 minute really away from getting promoted, and then all of a sudden he goes from being a man that's probably on the verge of being sacked now. To a man that would have been the man who finally took Hamburg back into the Bundesliga. But I agree. I don't see a way back for him now. I think the way that they performed today is going to make the Hamburg hierarchy just think maybe he's taken them as far as he can, really. Because, and let's be honest as well, they were in the top two for most of the season as well, and they did have a bit of a fall away in the back third of the season. Despite, I think they won the last 3 games, but before that, there were a lot of defeats in there in games that they should have been winning, like against the likes of Magdeburg and teams like that. Yeah, I think Ballum said, it was a good season for them and 66 points. Yeah, it was, but it's a case of not enough. It's Hamburg. It's Hamburg at the end of the day. It's one of the biggest clubs in Germany, and they've got to find a way. That's what a lot of what football comes down to. You can put the tactics, you got the players, but then it's got to come down to the in-play game, big moments. You know what I mean? And they've got to find a way to get over the line.
Well, I mean well, at least we'll get HSV St. Pauli rivalry again in the Zweite Bundesliga next season. Was kind of maybe looking forward to the Bremen HSV rivalry a little bit because that's a big rivalry between the two Hanseatic city states, fiercely independent, mercantile German northern states, and this will be a double substitution for Fürich, who's worked his socks off tonight. Just an excellent game from Fürich. Really ran hard. And Griwasi is also going to come off. He'll take a bow, get a little bit of extra rest. Not that he needs it ahead of the second leg. And Diego Tomas going to check in probably, or he could play lead strike, or no, Pfeiffer's going to come on and
the big easy, Pfeiffer, the big easy. I know. Don't even get Rory started on Pfeiffer. Really. I know his opinions on him, but I'm pretty sure he'll be sitting quite comfortably wherever he is right now. Anyway, 3-0 up.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, that's we'll see. Yeah, it looks there's Milo still active around there. There's Sosa, nice little work crashing in there. Sosa flanka. Ooh, that should have been 4-0. What kind of headed finish was that from Mavropanos? It was Mavropanos with a chance to get a brace. Excellent bending cross in there, and Mavropanos headed it directly into the turf. Yeah,
they're a classic part though. I think this is why the Bundesliga teams always win these playoffs, because there is just a big gulf in quality. I think it's. I think this has been one of the more one-sided ones in recent years. To be fair, they're not always this one-sided, but at the end of the day, the Bundesliga team does, 9 times out of 10 go and get over the line in these playoffs.
Well, they only came back with the promotion relegation playoffs in 2008. And that I think was after a 20, maybe 25-year hiatus, because they used to have them in the 70s and 80s, and then they stopped doing that back when they shortly, I think, after they introduced 3 points for a win. It used to be the case in the late 80s that there was no point tiebreaker, so to speak. It all came down to goal differential. So the playoffs were on hiatus for about 20 years. Then they brought him back in 2008. And I think they brought him back on like a 15-year plan or something like that. So it might be the case that they do away with them.
What would you say though? Because by the way, there's been a red card for the HFV. It's your man, the mini magician, the Finn, has ended up getting. Like, he was useless. He was absolutely useless. Like, he's come on, just run himself into the ground.
Yes, indeed. So, oh god,
He's ended up almost like basically the Stuttgart player in fertile there. I think.
Yeah, finish the job here now. 4-5-0. It should be 4-5-0 already, but go ahead and finish it off here now.
What is he doing, Suhonen there? The mini Finn. The mini Finn. He's only been on about 5-6 minutes, I think.
Well, I guess we can say with this match, he no finish.
He almost made Wagnerman infertile there, though, where that tackle went. I think, like that was an absolute. He went so high, he almost geez, that was a brutal challenge. It really was, and he deserved the red card.
Yeah, I
think for HSV, this has just been an absolute catastrophe of an afternoon. But I just wanted to ask you, Peter, about the playoffs. Like my view is that I would actually like to see a similar kind of situation to in England, where you have like the 3rd to 6th place teams play off and have 3 teams automatically relegated. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, we might see that. As a matter of fact, there's been talk of doing that on a Bundesliga level, but I don't think. I mean, as I was remarking in the last pod, how averse Germans are to change. That Germans are not going to stand for that at the top level, but in the Zweite Bundesliga or in the Dritte Liga, something like that could generate a lot more interest. And indeed, that's the way it is in England as well. There's just playoffs from the Championship and Football League 1 and League 2.
Yeah, and 3 teams go down automatically.
Right. So it's 3 teams are relegated automatically from the top flight, but there's playoffs in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th divisions. And this should be, oh, come on now. What do you, finish it off. Sosa, Milo. Oh, bad touch by Milo. Yeah, they should go ahead and finish this off now. I have every expectation that they will. That would be interesting. And perhaps we could even do it as the English do, with the playoffs held at one of our best venues. We don't really have a Wembley, but we could have it. We could hold it in the Olympiastadion. It could be right around the time as the Pokal finals. So, people who are that would be. I think that's something that you might see.
The crowds are amazing as well for the playoff finals. Like, this is one of the biggest in the lower leagues. This is probably the biggest thing in English football. Sure. Like I think for the playoff final, Coventry versus Luton a few weeks ago, they had 90,000 or 88,000 in Wembley for that game. So.
Well, and German fans would love it too. I mean, in England, if your club makes it to the playoffs, that's a huge event for your town.
It is.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's going, and that's the same. It is when a German team travels to the Olympiastadion to play Hertha. All of the fan clubs and the ultra societies, they start making their plans early. And a lot of the teams, when they go to visit Hertha, they have large traveling contingents of say, 16, 20,000 sometimes. So why not hold playoffs at the Olympiastadion? And the small town clubs here in Germany, they could, they could make an event out of it. That would be a huge event for them. They could all say, "Wir fahren nach Berlin, wir fahren nach Berlin." We're planning it, for weeks in advance. And that'd be a fantastic idea. I'd love to see something like that, particularly considering the fact that, there's oftentimes not a lot separating the teams that finish, between 3rd and 6th place in the Zweite Bundesliga and the 3rd Bundesliga. It would add some excellent drama. And let's make Olympiastadion our Wembley. It'd be great for Berlin. It'd be great for German football. Love to see something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the table this season, like if they decided to do that, then you would have semi-finals between Hamburg and Paderborn, and then the other semi-final would be Düsseldorf versus St. Pauli. So you could even potentially see it could even have been a Pauli versus a HSV final. I mean, imagine how crazy that would have been in Berlin.
Oh wait. Okay, but in England, the playoffs still the first round of the playoffs take place in the home
Yeah,
state.
no, yeah, they play. So basically, they play home and away. So it's like a two-legged thing. Yeah, but
And
you
then
don't even have to do it home and away. You can just have it as a one-off at the stadium of the team that finishes higher. Maybe you don't need, because I know in Germany they don't like to have too many games, do they? So what you could do is you could just have like a one-off semi-final at the team of the home of the team that finishes higher. I mean, that would
we
also
could
be
use them
okay.
this summer, considering the Women's World Cup, which Germans do follow and enjoy, is not till the end of July, and the Germany U21 Europameisterschaft is not till the end of June. So yeah, I mean, Germans would appreciate some extra football in these 3 weeks. As we see, HSV getting close to pulling one back on a couple of occasions. There was actually some mixed goalkeeping from Müller. I think he spilled one, but it's you just can't think that it's going to matter at this point. I mean, they pull one goal back, then I mean, there's something, but I mean, right now it's just total desperation football, and they are down a man. They're in a, I mean, yeah, obviously they're in a close to being a 7-2-0 formation.
Yeah. I mean, what can they do? I mean, what do you do now as HSV? Do you try and get one back and give yourself a little bit of a chance, or do you just try and keep it at 3-0?
Even if you're a man down, yeah. I mean, well, they're playing with a man down. They're throwing as many forward as they can. So, I mean, yeah, you have to. You have no choice. I mean, if you pull one back, it's possible to take it to extra time with 2 goals at home, but that seems so unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just think this final has been decided by just a golfing class, as I say. Like sometimes in football, you watch it and you just think that there's just a difference in quality in the two teams. And Hamburg just haven't had the tactical nous. Sometimes you can cancel out that deficit by tactics. Certain a way of containing a team or playing very defensively, like Mourinho-esque almost. But Tim Walter obviously hasn't gone for that today, and yeah,
he's got a triplicate striker set. There's only so much you can do tactically with that. I mean, you can use a sweeper, which I think he did. I think what's his either Schonlau, the captain, or Meffert were functioning as the sweeper, and then Kittel and Reis were way back. I mean, they were in midfield. But yeah, Glatzel, Yatta, Dompe. That's a straight the triplicate striker axis set. So, I mean, tactically, there's nothing much you can do. It's just a kick and rush formula, and it didn't work this evening in large part because Stuttgart was so. I mean, well, they got off to such a good start and were so effective on the counter, and even when Guirassy missed that chance and missed that penalty, one still didn't have the maybe the last 5-6 minutes of the first half. There was some stirrings, some rumblings from the guests. But here, oh God, this is. It looks like Stuttgart have definitely, based on that last attack build encounter, they've taken their foot off the gas here.
I think the subs, obviously they've made a lot of substitutions. Obviously, they've still got to get the job done in the second leg, haven't they? I think it's you've got to be professional at the end of the day, though, because you can't be. Obviously, from our perspective, it's easy to say it's game over, but from their perspective, Hoeness has to say you still need to go out there in Hamburg and put in a performance, even if it's just a waste of time, keep possession, that kind of performance. Then you've got to do it at the end of the day, haven't you?
Well, he drilled his side well. You could tell that from kickoff. The opening goal from Mavropanos off the corner, not even a minute had elapsed. Wasn't a particularly complex design by any stretch of the imagination, but it had been something they'd been practicing on the pitch last few days. You could tell. So I mean, he got their set pieces straightened out. They ran excellent counters all evening long, really. I mean, the counters were very, very fluid. Clearly Sosa and Führich had also been working on some underlap work on the training pitch. So Hoeness prepared them for this well, I have to say. And it helps that they were considered the clear favorites, so they could come into this match with some confidence. And there's a lot to be said for the way in which they kept up the level of their game, despite the fact that Guirassy missed that penalty and spurned that chance. I mean, they didn't succumb to lapses in confidence or concentration. We got some really great defensive work out of Ito and Anton back there. I think everybody, with the exception of Guirassy, played really well.
Yeah. I think there was just the one moment, wasn't there, when Muller kind of miscleared that effort, but even then they didn't get a proper shot away, and then it was well blocked by Ito. So, yeah, but even then, Muller has made a good save in the second half, but really the only chance that highest foul have created for a long, long time, really. He did make a good save on the goal line when Glatzel thought he probably pulled one back just after the third goal, but... It's been a very, very comfortable evening. And my only disappointment for Stuttgart is that they'll probably want the fourth goal now that obviously playing against 10 men, a beleaguered side with 10 men. They will want that fourth goal just to be 200% sure that they're going to get the job done.
Well, because you said be professional. They have to be professional. And that's period. I mean, when you have a chance to go in for the kill shot, and essentially secure safety for yourself, another season of Bundesliga football, talk about the class divide and the financial divide, stuff. I mean, everything is at stake here. Why not go for that fourth or fifth goal, the one you should have had much earlier in this fixture? So
that's what I'd be doing, definitely. But obviously, again, we mentioned the likes of Pfeiffer are not exactly as dangerous as Guirassy. Even though Guirassy didn't have his best night tonight, he still got the goal in the end, as he does most games, to be fair. And that's why he's going to be a really good signing for them ahead of next season.
Tomáš Milo's still on the pitch. He's still trying to be active. Tomáš will be wanting to cap his time in Stuttgart. He spent 18 months on loan here, and he'll be headed back to his Portuguese side after the campaign is over with. He should want to maybe leave with a nice exclamation point. As we see, that was a very, very poor ball from Sosa aimed in Tomáš's direction. Tomáš going to have to get a better service than that.
Yeah.
But he did win the ball back. And is that Milo? Yes. Endo operating advance. There is Tomáš. Pulled it wide.
You almost a commentator's curse there.
Well, no, that would have been that would have been the opposite of the comment.
The opposite, yeah.
I was saying that Tomáš would have. Yeah, it was actually a good effort from just outside the 18 there, and it went. It didn't go wide by much, as we see. Tim Walter is about to break down in tears in the dugout there.
They've just been pretty woeful tonight, haven't they? Sometimes it happens. Football's a cruel game. It really, really is. It's all about doing the right things in the big moments. And highest foul again haven't done it this season. They're going to spend another year in this fight, barring a miracle now. And it's, as you mentioned, the problem is the longer you're in there, the harder it's going to be to attract those kind of players with the budget to get you out of there. That's the thing. And for me, the worry for them is if they lose Glatzel, then all of a sudden it looks like a pretty average side, to be honest with you, because the defense does absolutely nothing to kind of really inspire me at all. Really.
I think Glatzel, I think he's probably going to want to stay. I think he's figured out that he's a kind of Simon Terodde-like player who's better off in the second division. Attracting talent is, well, I mean, I would have said the same thing about Hertha, but a lot of their players seem to want to stay, and they're even getting some new signings in there. They've signed this Danish youth phenom who, okay, to be fair, was playing for Midtjylland's youth reserves. I mean, that's a chance that he wouldn't want to miss out on. But yeah, I mean, attracting players to German sides. I mean, it's not like in England where, if it's not a real like Cadillac English squad, players need some sort of convincing. I mean, most of the players from Denmark, Poland, Hungary, Croatia, Slovakia, Slovenia, the Czech Republic, also Holland and Belgium. They don't need a lot of convincing to make the jump up to a German football side. It's kind of an upgrade for them. As they're going to bring on Narty, Well, that's a attack-minded substitution. Looks like, well, Narti can also play as. All right, should he sub off there?
Karazor
For Narti, it was.
and
Okay.
Milo is off as well. Actually,
Milo is off as well. Okay. No, I don't think so.
For who's come on for Milo?
No one. Milo's still on the pitch, I think, or maybe. Or
No, it's Egloff. Egloff is on.
Oh, Lillian
the
Egloff.
youngster. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's a potentially promising set piece here for Hamburg. If they pull a goal back, reduced to 10 men, that is not something that you would say that the team's performance or the Stuttgart fan base have deserved this evening.
Yeah. I think like a 3 or a 4-0 is probably a deserved result, in my opinion. Yeah. I just think it's been a dominant performance. It really has. And I just think...
Well defended. They try to unleash Pfeiffer on the counter, and unsurprisingly, it does not work.
you do wonder, though, sometimes with Bundesliga teams, it can make some absolutely horrendous signings. Like, who thought that Pfeiffer was good enough to play Bundesliga? Really? Like, it was just one of them. Like, with all due respect, like, they make some good signings as well, but like, he's one of those players that you just know is just not good enough for this level. You know, he's not fast enough. He just looks like a fighter player all over, doesn't he? Like, everything about him is just second league level. You know.
Now Sosa tried to unleash him. He was probably offside anyway.
Do you think he's good enough for Bundesliga though? Or?
No, of course not. I mean, he was signed. I mean, that was just desperation. They had, well, the Stuttgart striker problems really started last season when Kalajdzic got injured. I think Sven Shiplock nearly started. It was like training on Matarazzo's training pitch at one point. Because I mean, when Kalajdzic got hurt, of course you feel awful for Kalajdzic. He made that big transfer to England, then immediately tore his ACL again.
I feel sorry for him. Yeah, like he looks like he's going to be one of those. It's going to be hard for him to get back in the team at Wolves as well, because you know the English teams, they don't care if a player gets injured. Like at the end of the day, they want good players on the pitch, so they're going to sign someone else. I think they did. They actually signed Diego Costa to replace him. So,
well, maybe he can come back to the Bundesliga. I miss watching him. That's a 2 meter tall, Peter Crouch like guy where you watch him and you're like, I hope he doesn't snap those twig legs of his whenever he's playing, but it's always a risk.
He was one of those guys that always looked he was too tall for his body kind of thing. Yeah. He was one of those kinds. Like he doesn't look like, if you look at his face, you don't think he's one of those like 2 meter plus guys, But it's like
they're so thin, those guys, and you wonder, you worry not just about their limbs but also their internal organs. I mean, it's just like, how does Peter Crouch's circulatory system function? I don't know.
I saw him in person, Peter Crouch, and his legs are like this. I've never seen anything like it, really. I mean, he was actually a great player, but I've never seen. It was almost like a bizarre thing to see a man like that in real life, because they're literally over 2 meters, but the weight must be like 70 kilos or 75 kilos. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, really.
Yeah, it's like basketball players of the same height. It's totally different when you see football.
Like normally, you think a 2 meter guy is going to be like minimum 90 kilos, but more likely 95, 100 plus. But these guys, no, they're like 70, 75 kilos. So like, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Pfeiffer fails to finish.
Oh. How many times have we said that this season?
There's a guy who kind of sort of looks like Rory that the broadcast cameras just caught laughing it off. Yeah. Well, I mean, who else were you going to send on at this point? I mean, that was. Let's see. You've got. I mean, I like the effort that Tomáš put in there. I mean, he clearly wants to end on a high note.
Tomáš is a pretty good player. Like he's a good option, Tomáš.
Yeah, he's had his problems finishing too. You can tell he's a young talent who needs some more refining and things like that. But it's been a successful loan stint for him. I mean, I was guess not all that surprised to learn that they didn't want to keep him because the Kaufoption was a little bit high.
I think even Koulibaly he's a player that you feel as though he could get better. Koulibaly, he's still young. He's still only like 19, 20, I think. But obviously, he's not really earned the trust of Hoeness yet, has he? But he's a player that I've always quite liked, Koulibaly, to be honest. But again, it's the finishing. The problem with Stuttgart is they have a lot of players who look, they have a lot of quality on the ball, but they can't finish. And Guirassy is the one player they've got in that roster that can really finish on a regular basis.
Well, that's why they only escaped relegation last season on the final day, because it was the same story. You have all of these young players who just don't have the finishing polish, and it's like you remember the Wild Boys, the old Wild Boy Stuttgart side that won the title back in
Kurani and the like,
yeah. These weren't the Wild Boys. They're just wild. They're just wild all over the place when it comes to their finishing, and it's you saw that this season as well. I mean, that just so many finishes that could have been dusted off.
Furik's another one, really, isn't he? Furik, like he's had a really I've been impressed with his work under Hoeness, but again, he's another one that the finishing just isn't there at times, is it?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that's got to be 4-0. Oh, what the hell!
It's not
Mavropanos that was who missed that.
Jeez, yeah.
As we see some Stuttgart fans holding up their Niemals Zweite Liga. Oh, how did he fail to finish there? What are you doing, Mavropanos? Decent cross by Pfeiffer. Well, okay. He just stuck the wrong leg out there.
This has been such a one-sided game, really. It's just, I would even go as far as saying that Hoeness and VfB will be disappointed it's only finished 3-0 if it obviously does. I would say that they'll feel as though it should have been a 4 or a 5. This
should have been, this should have been to the point where, Sven Shiplock does start the reverse leg.
It should be at the point where Hamburg even consider cancelling it, to be honest with you, because it should have been. I would say 5-5 would have been probably the fairest scoreline.
Holger Badstuber, Christian, and Mario Gomez all come on for a 1-game contract.
A 1-game send-off.
A 1-game send-off contract, indeed.
But only if Pfeiffer starts as well. We've got to make sure that Pfeiffer
gets all right, of course. To give him some confidence.
Yeah. But this has been an absolute non-performance, hasn't it, from HSV?
Yes. I mean, they had their moments, but it was, and they certainly had, and Stuttgart even gifted them chances back into the game early there. So that's yes, indeed. As we're getting now. Pfeiffer picked up a ball. What can he do with it? Can't control it. Can't.
Jeez, he's not for everyone, let's say that much. But obviously I think also for the VfB, it's going to be keeping the likes of Mavropanos as well, because he's been linked with much bigger clubs. The likes of Atletico Madrid have also, and he's the kind of guy that you can see going back to the Premier League as well, to be honest.
Well, the problem there is that his exit clause is, I think, I was writing an article on it a few weeks back. I think it's 20 million. And his current estimated market worth after this season is only 10 million. So I don't think you never know in the Premiership. They overpay for everybody. They're going to overpay for plenty of Bundesliga players this season. But when the exit clause is double his worth, I don't think he's gonna move.
Yeah.
Well, that does it. Is there any other questions that we didn't get to this time around?
Yeah, let's just have a look. I think, yeah, Balam also asked me about, am I glad that FC Nuremberg? Yeah, of course. Yeah, very, very happy. That's actually
Oh,
tomorrow. It's going to be Wien Wiesbaden versus
yeah,
Hamburg.
yeah. You wanna do a tip on that one? I think because
Yeah,
that's actually going to be quite interesting. I'm going to be
it
watching that.
is because Bielefeld should have enough quality in the team, but they were so bad. I watched the highlights of that game against Magdeburg, and my God, were they bad! Like in a game that they had to win, they looked like an amateur team that just didn't want to be there, to be honest. So, but again, I'm tempted to say Bielefeld because there's more quality, but I think that Bielefeld have got more problems than what Stuttgart had going into this because Bielefeld should be in the top half, really, with that squad.
Yeah.
And they've obviously had a very, very poor season. The coach just looks woeful, to be honest with you. But I'm still going to go for Bielefeld, but I think it'll be a lot closer than this one. I think Bielefeld will win the title just simply because they've got more quality again, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think Bielefeld will take it. I mean, it was you talk about. I mean, look, it was Lautern were able to achieve promotion last year by beating a Bundesliga side. So I'm grateful for the playoffs in that respect. But this time, I mean, yeah, Bielefeld Wiesbaden, I think it's a total mismatch. And I mean, let's not forget that Wiesbaden are only in the playoffs because SC Freiburg were second place in the league.
Exactly, and they can't get promoted.
Yeah, so it's not. Yeah, it should definitely be Bielefeld. But
and I think they only got in the playoffs after a big turnaround on the last day as well. I think they started the day like 7th or something going into that, and then a couple of teams lost.
I even incorrectly, because I was covering the Dritte Liga, the final match day too. I accidentally said that, or in my initial publication, I said that Saarbrücken were going to contest the playoffs.
So, that would have been interesting, Saarbrücken, because it's been a while since we've seen them in the second league, and I think we saw Wiesbaden maybe 2-3 years ago.
I made a mistake there, and I had to. Thankfully, somebody called me out on it. I had to go back and correct the article.
But they were up there also. Saarbrücken were up there, but they obviously just fell. I think also Dynamo Dresden were also up there. That would have been interesting, I think, Dresden against Bielefeld. But
you know that the actually it was the Osnabrück, the late Osnabrück comeback that threw me off, because it would have been Saarbrücken, you know, and that would have been really cool, because the big story of the Dritte Liga is Elversberg, which just got
massive
Regionalliga last year, and now they're the champions, and they're also from the Saarland. So you would have had two teams from the Saarland.
They beat Leverkusen. They beat Leverkusen on the first game of the season in the Pokal. And then that just basically propelled them to an amazing season. But they'd only just come up from the Regionalliga, as you say. And I think this is going to be their first season in this fighter. So that's quite an interesting story to look forward to, And their stadium is really old school, too. It looks like a kind of semi-professional stadium, really, with mostly fans standing around the ground and things like that.
The Saarland is like Luxembourg light, you know. It's it's a real interesting little German.
They call it French Germany, I think.
It is. It's fair enough.
Anyway, so the game did finish 3-0 to Stuttgart. So obviously going into the second leg next week on Monday in Hamburg, for the away team will take a 3-0 lead. So very, very unlikely we're going to see Hamburg break their 5-year, which is likely to become a 6-year duck in the Bundesliga. Obviously, next year they'll have to hope for better. But I'm not sure if we will do a watch along, because obviously the game kind of looks over, really. I'll have to ask Rory about that one and see what's going on. But it does kind of look like a dead tie in many ways. So we'll see about that. But obviously the Pokal is coming up as well. We're not sure if we're going to do a watch along for that yet, 100% sure. But it is possibly in the offing as well. So just to close up, guys, if you enjoyed what you saw today, then at Over the Bar FB and at Over the Bar Extra. Also, the main channel, which is otbfootball.net. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on our stuff. So, thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.